Hi, and welcome to another tutorial on live coding with Mercury. In this tutorial we will look at creating rhythms for the different instruments, such as the sample and the synth, and we will also look at using probabilities to create small variations in these rhythms that we are making. So I would like to start off by creating a sample, and this time we will use a tabla sample, which is a percussion sound, and I will play it at a 1/8 note. So I will divide the bar into 8 equal segments. Now what if we would like some of those 8 notes to not play? So we can create a rhythmical pattern. For this we can create a so-called list. And a list is a collection of values, for example numbers. And in this case, because we want to create a rhythm, we can say play the sound or do not play the sound. And this is reflected as a 1 or a 0, where a 1 means play and a 0 means don't play. So when we make a list, we have to give the list a name so we can reuse it in different places of the code. So I will give this list the name Hi Rhythm. Now you can choose any name that you want, but don't use spaces or numerical values. And then to open and close the list, we have to use the square brackets. And within the square brackets, we can type the values that we want the list to contain. So for example, I'll add a 1, a 0, a 0, a 1, a 0, a 0, and another 1, 0. Make sure you use the spaces between the 1s and 0s, because if you type without a space, this will be the number 10. Now on the line of the sample, we can type a new function called play, and as an argument to the play function, we will give the name of the list, Hi Rhythm. Let's listen what will happen if I click play. So you can hear that not all of the 8 notes are playing anymore. Some of them are now silent. So we can fill in more ones or less ones or on different places to create different rhythms. For example, this one. So internally in this sample, there is a counter that is continuously counting for every time it has to trigger a sound. And when it has to trigger a sound, it will use that counter to look up the value in this list. So for example, it will start counting 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And when it is at 8, it will just go back to the beginning of the list. So it will say 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, etc. So it actually doesn't matter how long your list is, because it will always wrap back to the beginning. So for example, we can also create a rhythm that is only 5 items long, and we can still hear it play. So let's complete this percussive rhythm with some extra samples that we give some other patterns to it. So I will type new sample, and for example I'll use the mid tabla, and I will put this also at an 8th note, but we will play the mid rhythm. So I'll create a new list called mid rhythm with open and closing brackets, and I will type some 0 and 1s in here. So let's listen how this sounds together. Now for a third instrument I will create a tabla low that we will play once per bar, which is actually the default, but I will type it anyway so we know what is happening. And this once per bar low tabla sound will give us a reference to where we are in a measure, so we can listen to what it does with the rest of the rhythm. If we change the time from 1/8 to, for example, 1/16, the pattern will be played twice as fast. Now to give this a bit more dynamics, we can also create a list for the amplitude or for the volume of the sound. So for example, I can create a list called high gain, and in there I will put amplitude values that we want to use. So for example, a 1, but also a 0.5 and a 0.7. And then on the line of the sample, I will type gain, high gain, and then we will hit play. And we can do the same thing for the tabla bit list. Mid gain, 0.5, 0.3, 0.9, 1.2. Gain, mid gain. So now let's take a little step back to just the single tabla instrument. And what I'm doing here now is I'm commenting this code, and a comment means don't use the code but only let it be text. And you can comment and uncomment by typing the forward slashes in front of a line, or you can type option slash as a short key. So this list of zeros and ones actually don't just mean play or don't play. These values are actually a probability. So if you put in a 0, this actually means there's a 0% chance that the sound will be played. And if you put in a 1, this means there's a 100% chance that the sound will be played. So this also means that if you put in a 0.5 or a 0.25 or something else, you can create a percentage of how often the sound will be played. So let's comment these lists for now, and I will remove the gain function and just use the play function. If I put in a 1, this basically means play the sound 100% of the time. If I put in a 0, this means there's a 0% chance of the sound being played. So it will be silent. But if I put in a 0.5, for example, this means 50% chance the sound will be played or not played. Because this chance is completely random, you will not be able to perceive a pattern. But you do know that if you put the value quite high, there will be more sounds played and less rests. And if you make the percentage quite low, you will know that there will be a lot of rests and less sounds played. So if we combine this with, for example, the pattern that we already had for the other tabla and the tabla low, we can create some interesting variations that we can't really predict. For the next step, we can actually also include these percentages in the list itself. So if we uncomment our high rhythm and we replace the 0.3 with high rhythm again, we can now put in a percentage on different places in this list. For example, I'll replace the one with 0.9 and another one with 0.5, and I will add a 0.1 at the end. This now means that the counter of the instrument will still go from left to right through the list. So this will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But now when it encounters a percentage, it will give us a chance of being played or not played for that specific moment in time. So to finish this tutorial, we can add some extra percentages to the other rhythm to create some small variations in there too. We will add back our high gain to create some dynamic variation, and we can speed up our tabla low but also add a percentage so it will be silent now and then. So that was it for this tutorial on how to create rhythms and create some small variations within these rhythms with probabilities. In a future video we will also have a look at how to generate these rhythms through functions instead of having to type everything ourselves. But for the next video we will have a look at how to use lists to create melodies for the synthesizer and also how to combine that with creating rhythms for the synthesizer as well. So I'll hope to see you around for that one. Bye!